Greetings, siblings. Welcome to the video. This is Scout the Pages. My name is Scout if you're new here, and today we are going to be reading Wicked Cravings by Susan Wright. This is now the second installment in my reading monster and shifter romances. We're breaking the structure just a little bit because of some weird logistical issues. I went tent camping for the first time with my family, me, my husband, and our child, and it was such a joy, let me tell you. But I needed a book to read while I was there, and the only book that was, one, sparking my interest, and two, I had already owned on ebook and could easily, quickly read and not be, scared out in nature in a tent. Wicked Cravings by Susan Wright. So this one is not random. I'm so sorry I clickbaited you. My toddler did not pick this book. It did not compete with anything. I just was in the mood. It was on my TBR and it was already preloaded on my Kindle Paperwhite. It just worked out that way, and that's okay, to be honest with you. I'm very excited for the next episode that's coming out because it is random and it's going to be terrifying. So I actually just finished this book and I'm so excited to talk to you about it because I picked it up and finished it within like 2 days. So I didn't even have a camera with me. I was up in the mountains, in the woods, no internet access, no service, just me, my husband, and our kid, and a book to read. So this book in particular, I'll put the spreadsheet up right here, had 3 activities linked to it. Those 3 activities are: go on a date with my workaholic husband, eat a spicy treat, and make an inspiration board. So the second I got back yesterday from our camping trip, I did just that. I ate a spicy treat. I had some of these Korean spicy noodles, which I treat myself to every now and then. Sorry, I needed a little drink. And then I did go on a date with my husband. We went to this restaurant called Paul Martin's that's a few cities away from us. It was delicious. We had the brunch and it was so good. And then I made this inspiration board. Take it all in. Just really look at it. A lot of fun to make. But let's talk about the book now, since we've done the activities. Feral Sins, I believe, is the first book in the Phoenix Pack series. And I really enjoyed it. I could ignore some of the little toxic things that just kind of exist within the shifter genre. And ultimately, absolutely love the main character. I thought her personality was excellent in Feral Sins, and the love interest was fine. Neutral. Overall, very hot, very swoon-worthy, and I believed in the couple. Now this second book here, Wicked Cravings, I went into it with very high expectations because it's hard for me to like a shifter book that definitely has some overt misogyny in the world building, also in just the genre itself. Werewolf packs, not as progressive in women's rights as you would probably like, or in terms of queer inclusivity. This second book, I had high expectations and I don't think that was the issue. I read the first few pages and was immediately put off by the main character, but even more put off by the love interest. What was his name? Damien? I don't remember. I remember the first book, Trey. Don't ask me why. Dante. His name is Dante. This is about the beta. So the first book was about the alpha of the pack finding his mate. No spoilers for that first book, but the female main character of that book has the same issue that's a trope throughout the paranormal genre as the main female character of the second book. And that irritated me right off the bat, okay? In the first book, she's not like other shifters because her wolf is latent. She couldn't shift, therefore was like outcast, and was a certain type of healer that everyone like didn't like. And then we have this female main character, and she too has a dark secret and doesn't shift, but for a different reason. But nobody can know her secret, you know? I immediately was turned off by that because it's very similar between books. Another thing I disliked, the love interest. When the main couple of book 1 and Farrelsons get together at the very end, they have their mating ceremony, and the beta, Dante, at the very end, everyone is like, oh haha, when's your mating ceremony gonna be? And he specifically says he won't have one. I was like, ooh, if the next book is about him, this is going to be very interesting to see his character development. It's going to be very interesting to see him go from this grumpy, brooding, isolationist hermit of a guy who's a workaholic to somebody who clearly it's foreshadowing that he'll have a mating ceremony, right? How do we get there? This book was not interesting. It was not good. And we got there, but nothing validated that transition. He is such a jerk in the beginning, such a misogynist, so sexist, so offensive, just outright. It is never addressed. Never addressed. The things he says about the female main character. There was an opportunity for a very interesting relationship development in the beginning because she's pining after him. She's had a crush on him since joining the pack. She's like obsessed with him. And then he's like so not interested in her, but they were childhood friends. They grew up in the same pack and she's always been obsessed with him. He's always been like, yuck. Then it goes to her being like, I don't want him anymore. Like, I give up. And that's what gets him pining after her. And he goes from yuck about her to I own her, is what he kept saying. She's mine. And he was possessive and an alpha hole, but in beta form, a beta hole. And he never addresses the evil things he said about her, to her. There's a very non-consensual scene that is depicted as like fine, and the main character is fine with it, but it left me feeling disgusting. Disgusting. I don't remember anything like that happening in the first book. Take that with a grain of salt because it's been over a year since I read that first book. But I don't remember that happening, and I don't remember feeling like that reading that book. This time, there was a very non-consensual scene, punishment based, but not in a hot way. In like a I hate this kind of way. The writing of the book was also just like not amazing. The prose is fine, just like the first book, but I think the lacking world building, the lacking character development, and the lack of original character made the writing style's simplicity more obvious. Well, the first book was so exciting and the characters were more distinct, I didn't feel the prose as much, but in this one, because I wasn't feeling everything else, I was feeling the prose a bit more. Another thing I didn't like, the beginning of this book really set up the main character to be very different from the first book. But once we get to the middle of the book, she's using the same lines, she has the same attitude, and she's ultimately very unoriginal compared to the first female main character in the series. I think Susan Wright wrote Taryn to be a very snarky character, a bratty character, and she did that really, really, really well. I would say Taryn was funny and distinct, but in the second book, the main character is just so inconsistent and not distinct. She's supposed to be a submissive, but she's really a dominant in disguise. You don't really see anything interesting happening with that. There was a lot on paper, if you bulleted down everything from the second book, that should have worked, but it just felt like the author didn't have an actual definitive grasp on what these characters would be like to make them very distinct from the first book. And because they weren't distinct and it didn't match the story, it was just the characters from the first book again in the second book, but in the wrong setting, in the wrong relationship. It just didn't work. Other than that, I also really despised the insta-love situation, but also the logistical issues with the relationship development. She went from being sick of him and thinking he's a beta hole to tolerating his very non-consensual advances on her. He goes from saying, "Ew, yuck, get away from me, leave me alone," to "I own you and I'm gonna kill anybody who comes near you." And then he's like, "You're mine and I want to be with you for the rest of my life, even though I have commitment issues. I've changed my mind. I want you, I want you, I want you, I want you, I own you, I own you, I own you, I own you." They still have trouble, like he still has trouble saying, "I love you." He's already sacrificed himself so much by the point that they say "I love you" to each other. And she, the entire second half of the book, is like, "Does he love me? I wonder if he loves me." After he's said millions and millions and millions of times that he wants her forever and that she's his and no matter what, they're gonna be together. And then I don't want to get into spoilers, but like, it's so obvious what is going to happen in this book, and it's so not well done. I can take a predictable book if the journey there is interesting and if the execution is entertaining. I don't think I was entertained by this. If I had had another book option, I would have not finished this book, and that would have been a better use of my time. I knew how it ended. I didn't enjoy it. Here is my final rating for this book. I am really disappointed. So disappointed. This might be one of my most disappointing books of the year so far because of the content warnings that were so unnecessary. The prose was really bad. The character development, the world building, everything was bad. Everything was not good. I would say it's not the most offensive things I've read. You know, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate read it. I'm just overall disappointed. I would not recommend this book, but if you really had nothing else to read, and if the list of keywords for this book are really doing it for you, I'd say give it a shot. The things I have a problem with may not bother you, but be aware of the content warnings, be aware that I told you it's not very good, have really low expectations. I am grateful to have removed this from my TBR. I am sad I wasted my time. I truly wish I could remember our first camping trip as a family with a different book in it, but you know, it is what it is. Lesson learned. I cannot wait for the next book in this series because I believe I will have so many highlights to share with you based on the first book in the series. If they're anything alike, which based on reviews they are, we're gonna have a good time. It'll be a longer video and it will be so interesting. I've already begun and I'm reading the book like this. So you know how it's going. I will see you in the next episode. If you're enjoying these, please leave a comment down below. For this installment in the series, comment a wolf emoji and let me know what you do for a career, how you make your money to get by, because this is a workaholic book. You all know what I do. I will comment it down below. Check out that comment if you actually don't know what I do, which would be very interesting at this point. And let me know what you do down in the comments. Also, let me know what you're reading right now and how you're doing. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next Monster Shifter romance. Be safe. Stay kind, siblings. All this bullshit I can see right through.